Hello aspirants, looking at editorials and question bank for 19th November. The first editorial in the Hindu newspaper is saying no to Jallikattu again. So we have discussed about this, you must be knowing all by now. So Jallikattu had been banned by the government earlier, Supreme Court, and even the act which Tamil Nadu government has passed in 2009, that had also been declared not sufficient to ensure that cruelty on animals, the bulls, does not take place. So that had also been not considered satisfactory. The government, central government's order in Jan 2016 on allowing Jallikattu, that has also been stayed in few days, within few days by the Supreme Court, and the review petition which Tamil Nadu government had filed on the ban on Jallikattu has also been taken in and declined right now, that there will be no review, the ban stays. So this is about Jallikattu. We have discussed Jallikattu earlier too, so I'm not discussing it again. You know, it's a bull taming festival. It is in Tamil Nadu during the harvest festival, Pongal festival, when it is practiced. So it's an ancient cultural practice. Even it was argued that it is a religious practice, but then the Supreme Court said no, it is not an essential religious practice and it cannot be upheld on that ground. So presently Jallikattu stays banned. Despite central government and state government's efforts to ensure Jallikattu is not banned, the editorial also ends by saying that it is a futile measure to make this old practice being upheld, because it goes against Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, which the Indian government has passed. So it results in cruelty to animals. Even people have died in this. So it's better to end this practice, end this cultural festival, rather than resulting in more deaths and injury to the bull. So bull is not supposed to be a wild animal which has to be tamed. It is a domestic animal. So take that into consideration, and the Supreme Court says Jallikattu should be banned. Then the next editorial is Justice Beyond Borders. So this is regarding International Criminal Court. The ICC has given its judgment on various matters. It was formed in 2002 under the Rome Statute. So, under the Rome Statute, which was ratified eventually, and 2002 it was formed. And 4 countries have come out of it in October itself. And now, in October 3 and now in November, Russia has also decided to quit ICC. So these were the countries which had signed the ICC statute, the Rome Statute. After ratification, you become full members. So you can see here, Gambia in October 2016, Burundi and South Africa. These 3 withdrew, and now Russia has also withdrawn. The thing is that ICC has given its various judgments, but almost all its judgments have been against war crimes in Africa. So on Western countries, the initiatives have not been strong enough, and Russia presently was reprimanded for its annexation, 2014 annexation of Crimea, which is called an illegal occupation by ICC. This part also we have discussed earlier. Crimea is a part in Ukraine, in the southern part of Ukraine, and majority of the population there is Russian speaking, and Russia says the annexation has the occupation, it's not an occupation, but it has been done after a referendum in the region where people voted overwhelmingly, more than 90% vote in favor of joining Russia. So that is how Crimea became a part of Russia. But of course it is a dangerous practice. You cannot have referendums conducted in another country's regions, and where people vote in your favor, you annex those regions. So of course it cannot be upheld on those grounds. But this Russia has now decided to opt out of ICC, because it is also seen that ICC has not been powerful enough against Western powers like USA too and its allies, which are indicted in war crimes committed during Iraqi war. So the punitive actions that were initiated against them, that could not be upheld. There were constraints in implementing them. So this all is visible. So that is also there, which is the reason why this role of an international organization, and its role runs concurrently with national laws, and it's applicable to only countries which are signatory to it. So that is the case now. That how would this noble aim of imposing justice, enforcing justice beyond domestic borders, so how can that take place in this globalized world? A realization of it is much more difficult, because nationalism is resurgent presently, as we are seeing in various countries, including Brexit, USA presidential elections, and in other matters too. So this is the point put forth. You You can see at ICC. It was formed in July 2002. And these are the various members of it, signed and ratified. Light blue are signed but not ratified, and non-signatories, you can see India is a non-signatory. So this is regarding ICC 2, about what is jurisdiction to prosecute individuals for international crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes. So that is there. The 39 individuals all have been African who have been indicted by ICC so far. So that is the reason why. And even another point which the editorial speaks of is, since NATO is also expanding itself, even in the neighborhood of Russia, that is also bringing in threat perception of Russia high, because of which it is even opting out of ICC. So that is one point put up. So you can look at NATO members too and the years in which they joined. So this is there. So NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's an intergovernmental military organization amongst 28 member states. From the other side of Atlantic, it is Canada and USA. And here in Europe, these are the countries which are part of it. So Atlantic Ocean lies between these two continents. So these are the European countries part of it. And these were former Soviet Union constituents which have now become members of NATO. So that is again a concern for Russia. And what is this treaty? Inter-military alliance means if any one of these countries is attacked, then entire alliance will come forward to protect it and counter that attack. So that is an alliance, military alliance. So even USA had this alliance which is called Warsaw Pact. So on the same lines, this is NATO, which is still functional. It has taken initiative in the wars which USA had initiated, even in the Iraqi war, and also in imposing no-fly zone in Libya during the civil war in Libya too. So it is still very active and it is expanding, which is not liked by Russia. Next, looking at the question bank. The question which we have put up based on the lead article is, even after decades of reservation, Dalits are considered an oppressed class. What are the reasons for the same? How can this oppression be eradicated from the roots? So this content given in the lead article will not be sufficient. It's a very open-ended question. There may be so many points which can be put up, so you can use your skills and knowledge also to add up points. What is mentioned here is about the new swing in Dalit politics. So how Dalit politics has also enhanced itself, bringing in more initiatives, more factors into consideration. Social media is used to a huge extent to even organize marches and to propagate its ideas and how welfare of Dalits can take place, to educate people, to talk of plans. So this is highlighted. So what is the problem? The atrocities still prevail. How do we say? Because it has been years of reservation now, but atrocities against Dalits still prevail. One of the major aspects which highlighted this was suicide note by research scholar Rohit Vemula. When it was stated in it that my birth is my fatal accident. So he was a Dalit, and he was born as a Dalit, was an accident, because of which his organization, he had formed his Ambedkar Society, students organization in his university. He was a research scholar in Hyderabad University, and because of some protests which took place, because he had organized, he had raised his voice, he and 4 other friends had raised their voice against the sentence which was put on Yaqub Memon, the death sentence in the Bombay riots case. So they had raised their voice, they had spoken about it, they were very vocal about Dalit rights also. So all this was protested against by ABVP, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, which is a student wing of BJP party, and they had also protested against the force which was used by ABVP attacking the screening of a documentary. So you know about Muzaffarnagar riots which took place, in which huge number of Muslims were attacked and killed and many had to leave too. So it was a riot which took place, resulting in huge dislocation of the population in that region too, who are refugees, who are staying as refugees in camps. So this is one issue. Again, on it there was a documentary. So this is Muzaffarnagar Baki Hai. We have heard about Kairana incident too, in which it talks of Muslim exodus in the village, and Muzaffarnagar riots also. We have discussed this in October. Linked, 2 issues are linked. So when a documentary was screened on this, ABVP members attacked it. So even the this Ambedkar Students Association raised their voice against this attack too. So all this was considered as anti-national activity of Ambedkar Association, and ABVP wrote a letter to Union Minister, and that resulted in even the university calling for uh, calling for a ban on this organization. All these scholars, their pension, their stipends was stalled, and eventually in Jan 2016, after they were barred from the hostel, so they had nowhere to live, these research scholars. So the actions which the university had taken against them were quite extreme. So they had no food, no money, and they were barred from the hostels. So all this for just raising their points of views. Eventually, Rohit Vemula committed suicide in January 2016, and in his suicide note, he has written about how he was persecuted. This incident resulted in widespread protests all over India. People raised their voices, Dalits came together talking about the condition of Dalit youths in universities in India. If this is the status, then what more proof do you need of atrocities? Of course, the government put all its efforts in proving that Rohit Vemula was not a Dalit. His certificate was false. Whatever be the case, but such an incident really brings forth the tolerance levels of the government actually. So here again in February 2016, just a month after his death, we saw even the Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU students, who had raised their voice against the death penalty being awarded to Afzal Guru, who was an accused in 2001 parliamentary attacks case. So there too it resulted in students being arrested. So Kanhaiya Kumar, he's become very famous now. So he was arrested along with his fellows. So this whole issue, again there ABVP was the students organization up front who alleged that the anti-India slogans were raised. Also, investigation was done and it was seen that anti-India slogans were raised but not by JNU students but some outsiders. So whatever be the case, whatever person says, what is the tolerance level for that was highlighted. So these are generally taken as one-off incidents, but they get huge media attention. Another case which is highlighted here too is about right to food. So Dalits also are non-vegetarians. So right to food is also a demand of Dalits, that they should have a right to what they eat, what they wish to eat. So this is the case of Dadri lynching, in which Muhammad Akhlaq, who was accused of having beef in his house. So this is in Uttar Pradesh, in Dadri, he was lynched to death by the mob. So these Gaurakshaks are the people involved who commit atrocities on both Muslims and Dalits. So this is also one issue which is called by the government as a one-off incident, but it gets widespread media attention and it's debated. So why not? Why such issues should not be debated? These are the rights of the people and these cannot be brushed off as one-off incidents. These raise questions and put pressure on the government. If such one-off incidents are highlighted to such an extent that next such incident will not take place. So why not put pressure on the government as well? Why should it brush off such incidents? So whatever be the case, these are the issues which are raised by the Dalits and they want their rights asserted. So this highlights how they are treated in universities, their status even in offices to some extent, and also at the village level where landowners are the dominant authorities, where land reforms have not been brought in to the extent as desired, and Dalits still bear the atrocities. The Dalits group have also proudly announced that they uphold the rights of women, they believe in equality of women, and they go against the Hindutva ideology on these lines too, and which they undertake moral policing. So these are also one positive aspect to this. Now the question is about the atrocities still prevailing and how to eradicate them. So of course there are laws, there is Prevention of Atrocities on Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act against them, but then which has stringent provisions. So if the victim is a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe person, then the provisions are more stringent. Punishment is more stringent. So these laws are also protested against. This we saw during Maratha rallies. So Marathas are also demanding for reservation and they're demanding for abolition of this act. So this shows how the upper caste is also aggrieved with respect to the lower caste reservation rights, and reservation have not fulfilled the promise which they had given to the lower caste. The discrimination still prevails. So this is also important. So both aspects have to be taken into consideration, and to eradicate the root cause of Dalit atrocities, first of all, reservation has to be streamlined. The extent of reservation which it has increased just for political mileage has resulted in this situation. So if reservation is streamlined, the way we have creamy layer in OBCs, we can have creamy layers in SCs and STs too, and this should be reviewed every time in such a way that the number of people receiving reservation benefits should reduce rather than increasing. So that is how the general category would also not be aggrieved. So all such measures to streamline reservations should be taken into consideration. Also, to bring in inclusion, it is necessary that the rights of Dalits are upheld to the same level as any general candidate in universities, in all educational institutions for that matter, and also in office atmosphere. So there should be no form of discrimination implied as well in any association. Also, they have to be brought into the forefront and treated as equals. So bringing in equality is very essential to ensure that they do not have this feeling of subjugation as well. There are many incidences, even the scavengers, manual scavengers are from the Dalit community. So these are also stigma associated with them, which has to be completely eradicated, and inclusive society has to be built in. So these issues have to be highlighted, and of course there's a need to uphold them and give positive discrimination towards this community to ensure that they come up and are able to assert their rights on their own and eventually make reservation irrelevant. So that is what you can write. You can add many more points. So this is the question for today. Thank you so much. You can download the PDF from the website, the link for which is provided in the description. Thank you.